Welcome to the Subscription Maker Podcast. Today, we want to be talking about why you may want to make a customer success manager your first hire. Now, for the record, it doesn't matter what you feel about the future and the current business climate. Things change, things advance, nothing stays the same. The only thing we know is that your future success is determined by your planning and preparation. If you fail to plan, then eventually it will catch up with you. The next thing we know is that basically everyone who starts a business starts with at least three hats. These are the hats that come to you that come with starting a business. You know, they're the three personality traits, you could say. So the first one is the entrepreneur trait. The second one is the management trait. And the third one is the technician's trait. So the entrepreneur trait is the one that says, I am is the forward looking trait. And the second one is the management trait is the person who picks up the things when things are dropped. They're the person who organizes things. So you have to have that in a business. And the third one is you have to have some type of expertise, some type of service that you're providing, product that you're providing. And that's, basically everyone who starts a business starts with these three. The next thing that happens is that what's missing is balance. So basically, when you have these three personality traits, they go into conflict when you start to think about doing something big. When you start to think about, who do I hire to help me? What kind of things do I need in order to create the kind of company, the kind of customer experience I want to create? So basically what happens is that this crisis sets in. That basically, before you decide to do something big, everything you can kind of get things in the order. You can kind of pull them all together, all three personality traits. However, once you start to say, okay, I'm going to bring in my first hire, then who do you bring in? What are the criteria? What kind of things do you want them to do? Now, when you get down to it, the the entrepreneur side of you says, I am a picture person. I all I want to do is big picture things. I want to bring in big ideas. I want to move on those ideas. I want to move as fast as I can. And if I can find someone who can do everything else for me, basically take everything else off my hand so that I can spend my time doing the big picture things that I got into this business to do. I came to do big picture things. I saw an idea and I jumped on it. Now, mind you, that idea, that entrepreneurial surge may not last very long. Seth Godin talks about the dip. Um, there's the entrepreneurial surge, which everybody feels when they start a business. They see something, there's a light, there's a tickle. Now, the problem with entrepreneurs is that you see many things which will trigger that surge. They call that the shiny object syndrome. You're working on something and the surge hits you and you say, "Oh, maybe I could go do that." Now there's another part of you that stops that. And that's the management part of you. The management trait, the management hat, the management role. This is the part of you that organizes things. This is the part of you that needs to pick up the pieces when things start to go wrong. When as you're going about your day-to-day life, the part of you, the management part of you will say, okay, I've got 10 things open. Maybe I'm dropping seven of them. Maybe I'm not um, putting the correct amount of emphasis on seven of them. So The management portion of you says, well, we need to hire someone who's detailed oriented. We need to find a virtual assistant, someone who can set up meetings for us, who can handle our calendar, because this is the most important piece from an organization standpoint, from a management uh, personality trait. This is the most important thing. We have to keep things organized. We have to be efficient and productive. That's what the manager says. Now, the third trait that we want to talk about is the technician's trait. The technician's trait is the trait that says, okay, I got something to do, I have an expertise, and I want to get on with it. Obviously, I had the entrepreneurial surge at the beginning, but when you get right down to it, I'm in this business to do something, to accomplish something, mainly to get rid of my boss, who was standing in the way of allowing me to do the work I really want to do. So that's the entrepreneurial threat, or the entrepreneurial, I'm sorry, that's the technician's hat, the technician's personality trait. Now, the technician's personality trait weighs in on this first hire situation. And that personality trait says, I don't care who you hire, just hire someone so that I can do the work I set out to do. I started this business to do something. And if you need to hire someone in order to allow me to do what I set out to do, then go for it. I'm all for it. The challenge is that you've got three parts. You don't have the fourth part. The best you can get to is kind of like 90%. And it's at 10% that causes chaos. So what's missing? Well, first, let's start with the trait that's missing. And that's the customer success trait. So what is customer success? Customer success means, basically, it's a term used to describe the process of helping customers achieve their desired outcomes using your service or product. It's ensuring, in the old days, traditionally what you had is you had a one-off sales. So someone would purchase something and then you would never see them again. Customer success is more, you bought it from me and I'm here for you. I'm doing the onboarding to ensure that you understand how to use the product or service. I'm following up to ensure that even from the start, we understand what your requirements are. I'm doing things to build relationships for you. The customer success manager would say this. I'm in the business to help you, the customer, achieve whatever you need to achieve. That's what that's what that customer success trait is. And what I would argue is that if you truly want to be successful, then you need all four hats. You need the entrepreneur hat, you need the manager hat, you need the tech hat, but you also need the customer success hat. You have to be concerned about what's happening with the customer, what the customer desires. Is the customer being satisfied? So this is why I believe it's the most important hat. Now, what's missing? Just to clarify, what would be missing if you don't have a customer success manager? So customer success hat, or the customer success personality trait, is where you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to consider the customer in all my decision making processes. I'm not just going to consider the big idea. I'm not going to consider just how I organize it or the technical ramifications of doing it. I'm going to consider what the customer wants me to do, what the customer needs. more so what the customer wants. Needs are something I provide to them. That's value add. Wants is what gets you in the door. It's an emotional connection. Now, when we take it to the next level, we say, let's hire someone. And I believe the first hire should be someone who handles the customer, because you can go out and you can sell and you can bring in you can spend all kinds of money on salespeople. But if you don't have the back end to ensure that they're being satisfied, that they're being taken care of, then you lose. That money goes down the drain and walks out the door. So here are the things that happen if you don't have a customer success manager. So what's missing? You don't get any consideration of the customer's interest. People talk, they pay lip service to being customer centric. But without a customer success manager dedicated to doing that, then it's just one of four personality traits that you have to internalize. But if you got a person that is responsible for that, you may end up saying, okay, I understand it in my decision making process. But once I've decided that this makes sense from a customer success standpoint, then there's a person that I can pass that off to that is specifically dedicated to helping and understanding the customers. The other thing is you don't get onboarding or SOPs. Now, onboarding is something that is done, but not done very well most, in most startups. It takes a while before you get the onboarding process right because you're trying to bring in more customers. If you have a choice, you want to bring in customers, but you need somebody else to make sure they stay. And that's what the customer success manager does. The customer success manager makes sure that the people stay, that your customers stay, that there's no friction building up, which will cause them to leave. And the other thing is balance. A customer success manager brings balance because they are so focused on, you know, making sure that there's no conflicts between the company and the customer. They have to be skilled at conflict resolution. And that could be you fighting with yourself, or it could be between the customer and you, or the customer and the product. But it's nice to have that person. I often see situations where people are told that we can't promote you because you're too nice. You don't do what we need to do from you're not aggressive enough. And I would caution against bringing on those kind of people in the beginning. What I like is a two-tiered effect. So the person who's going to be working with the customers continuously on a day-to-day basis, that person needs to get along with the customer. Now you need another person, a go-to person that says, okay, this isn't working. You need someone that you can escalate problems to. And that's why I don't like customer success managers or customer facing people who are too aggressive. They need to be stern. I mean, they need to understand and be direct with, okay, this is the way it is, but they shouldn't be confrontational. That's really what management is for. People understand, okay, I can't do this for you. Let me escalate this so that person, and then you have to decide, then you bring on those four hats and you make a decision. Is this good for the company? Should this customer continue to work with us, or should we part ways? But that shouldn't be something that an employee makes a decision on at the start of the company, in the startup phase. That's something that should happen later. Now, when I think of a customer success manager, what I like to think of is a trail guide, A trail guide helping customers successfully navigate a new opportunity space. I think that is the perfect role for a customer success manager. Basically, when you start a business and you present the customer with your product or service, you're providing them with an opportunity space, or you're providing them with a capability which they haven't had before. They have not enjoyed previously. This is something new to them. And because of that, you need someone who will guide them in the onboarding process, who will guide them through upgrades and enhancements. That's what the customer success manager is for. They're a trail guide. Generally people bring on new capabilities because they're entering new opportunity spaces. So if the customer success manager is familiar with this new opportunity space, then they can uh, talk the customer through the pitfalls of what they will face as they use your product to achieve their goals. So what I like to say is, when it gets right down to it, when you're getting your first hire, when you're making that decision, you've got to keep in mind that there are certain things you do that you need to do as the owner, as the business, the professional, the leader. And they include the four hats. You need the entrepreneur to find new opportunities. You need the manager to ensure that things don't get out of hand. And you need the technician, because that person will bring on new capabilities which can help you achieve your goals. But you also need that customer success portion, that personality trait, so that when the other three start to go at it, then you've got a fourth one that can basically say, yeah, but what's right for the customer? What does this mean for the customer? And what I want to do is, I want to thank you for listening to or watching this episode of the Subscription Maker podcast.